Grimora.
My name is Elena Ward. This happened on a night when the streets were quieter than usual and the sky felt heavier than normal. I finished a late shift at a printing warehouse on the edge of the city. It was the kind of night where time moved slowly and streetlights hummed with a dull electric sound. The last bus of the night was the number 17. It always arrived at 12:30. It was never late. It was never early. It was always exact. I walked to the stop and sat beneath the steel shelter. The glass walls were fogged from cold air rolling off the pavement. Behind me, the street was empty, as if the world had shut down early. When the bus finally arrived, its headlights cut through the haze in a soft glow. There was no sound, except the low engine. The doors opened with a slow hiss. I stepped inside and saw that I was the only passenger. That was normal for this time of night. The driver sat with his hands resting still on the wheel. His head remained forward. He did not speak or move. I paid the fare and chose a seat near the middle. When the doors closed, the interior lights flickered once. The bus began moving through the long, straight road leading out of the industrial district. The windows looked darker than they should have been. Streetlights passed by slowly, one by one, like measured beats. I noticed something different that night. The bus took a turn it never normally took. I knew the route well because I had ridden it for months. The number 17 always went straight for at least 5 stops before turning. This time, the turn happened almost immediately. The buildings outside changed into something unfamiliar. The windows reflected nothing but blank space. It looked like we were moving through fog rather than city blocks. I leaned forward slightly and spoke to the driver. My voice sounded quieter than I expected. I asked if the route had changed. He did not respond. His eyes stayed forward. His posture did not shift. It was like he existed in another place entirely. I sat back and watched the aisle. The long overhead lights flickered without sound. The hum of the engine became slower and deeper, like a steady low pulse. The road outside grew wider. There were no buildings anymore. Only rows of tall telephone poles stretching into the distance. After 10 minutes, something changed behind me. I felt the sensation of movement. The air shifted, as if someone stood up or sat down nearby. I turned slowly and saw the shape of a person sitting at the back. I had not heard footsteps. I had not heard doors. Yet someone was there. The figure sat facing forward, with both hands resting on their knees. Their clothing looked soaked, as though they had walked through heavy rain. Water dripped from their sleeves onto the floor without sound. Their face was turned slightly downward, so I could not see the features beneath wet hair. I looked back to the driver. The rear-view mirror reflected the aisle, but showed nothing behind me. The seat where the figure sat appeared empty through the reflection, yet when I turned around again, the figure was there, unmoving. The driver raised one hand slowly and adjusted the mirror without looking away from the road. It was the first movement I had seen from him. His hand trembled slightly, as if holding something heavy. I asked again where we were going. This time his voice answered in a flat, quiet tone. It sounded distant, like a recording from far away. He said that some passengers belonged to the route, and some did not. The air felt colder. The windows fogged over until nothing could be seen outside. The lights flickered again. The sound of dripping water echoed through the bus in uneven rhythm. I watched the wet figure at the back. Their shoulders shifted, and their head lifted slowly. Their face was not right. The eyes looked like dark glass without reflection. Their mouth was slightly open, but there was no breath, no sound, no motion of life. Water slid down from the corners of the lips in thin lines. The engine groaned as the bus slowed to a stop. The doors opened with the same soft hiss, though there was nothing outside but dense fog. The driver spoke again, still without turning. He said that the ones without a path had arrived. Shadows formed through the fog outside the open door. Shapes of people walked toward the bus in slow, steady steps. Their bodies moved as if underwater. Their clothes hung heavy. Their arms swung with unnatural stiffness. Their eyes did not blink. They boarded silently and filled seats around me one by one. Their skin looked pale and hollow. Some had bruising around the neck. One had a dark indentation across the forehead. Another's fingers were bent at angles that looked impossible. The bus doors closed. The hum of the engine deepened. The driver gripped the wheel hard enough that the knuckles whitened. The pale passengers turned their heads toward me in perfect unison. All of them stared without expression. Their eyes were empty voids, silent openings into nothing. I tried to stand, but my legs would not respond. It felt like something held them still. The air thickened. The silence pressed against my ears. One of the passengers reached forward and placed a wet hand against my shoulder. The cold spread through my chest like slow ice. The bus lights dimmed. The driver spoke again in a forced, strained whisper. He said they needed a replacement. The pale passengers leaned closer around me. Their movement was slow, but their intent felt certain. The cold spread deeper through my body. My arms felt disconnected. My vision pulsed. Something inside my chest tightened as if pulled from the center. The driver suddenly shouted with effort. The engine roared, and the bus swerved sharply. The pale passengers slid sideways, collapsing into each other like fallen mannequins. The impact broke their stillness. Some of their limbs cracked, their bodies twisted, their eyes flickered with dim, fading light. The driver turned his head for the first time. His face looked hollow, gray, worn. He told me not to let them inside. His voice cracked like something breaking. The bus lurched through the fog and stopped abruptly. The doors burst open. He told me to run without looking back. My legs moved again. I stumbled out into cold night air. The ground beneath me was pavement, illuminated by a single flickering streetlight. When I turned, the bus was gone. The road was empty. The fog had lifted. The world looked normal again. I was standing at the stop near my apartment. The silence returned to its usual state. The sky was dark and still. There was no sign of the bus, the driver, or the passengers. The next morning, I searched for information about the number 17 route. I found a news article archived years ago. It reported a fatal accident involving the last bus on Route 17. The driver lost control on a fog-covered bridge. All passengers drowned when the bus fell into the river below. The bus was never recovered. Since that night, I walk home after work. I do not take buses anymore. But sometimes, when I pass the stop at 12:30, I see headlights reflecting off the glass shelter. I hear a faint humming engine idling in the distance. The number 17 still runs its route for those who never reached their destination. Sometimes I feel a cold hand rest on my shoulder as I pass. The air shifts. The hum grows louder. I know they are still waiting for a replacement.